recording?
We are.
Okay. Good afternoon, welcome to members of the public and to everyone else to this meeting of North Yorkshire Council's Skipton and Ripon Area Planning Committee. I'm Councillor Nathan Hull, who will be chairing this meeting. Can I remind everyone that today's meeting is being audio recorded and will be made publicly available in the next few days on the Council's website. Recording is allowed at Council Committee meetings. I've not been notified that anyone has contacted Democratic Services to say that they wish to record the meeting today. Is there anyone in here that wants to record the meeting? Okay, thank you. In terms of housekeeping, please ensure that mobile phones are switched off or are kept on silent. The room that we're in today, as I said, doesn't have a microphone system, so we can all make sure that everyone can hear us when we're speaking. Also, I've not been made aware that there's going to be a fire alarm test today, so if the fire alarm does go off, I'd ask everyone to make their way out of the doors and then fire exits by the nearest exit and congregate just outside in the square there if they could. The officers in attendance today to support this meeting are Stuart Mills, who's the Development Management Team Manager, Josh Arthur, who is Planning Officer, Kate Lavelle, who's Solicitor, and Vicky Davies from Democratic Services. So just in terms of...
Sorry Chair, you've also got Ed, who's the...
Yes, Edward Smith.
Edward Smith.
Sitting for environmental health.
For environmental health.
You're from EH.
Yeah.
Environmental health. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sitting for Mary Jones because she's
Thank
away.
you. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, okay. So just in terms of apologies for absence, Vicky?
Thank you, Chair. We've just got apologies from Barbara Bradigan and Andy Brown.
Okay,
Thank you.
Well, there's still 4 of us here, so we are quorate, so we'll continue with the meeting. In terms of minutes for the meeting that was held on Tuesday, 5th of August 2025, these appear on pages 3 to 4 of today's agenda. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes?
Move them, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Right, so if no amendments, I'll just sign those. In terms of declarations of interest, does anyone have any declarations of interest?
None, Chairman.
Okay. Just to say for the purpose of the minutes, I've been contacted by Mr Dyson on a couple of occasions, who is one of the objectors to the application. For the purposes of clarity, I made it clear to Mr Dyson on both occasions that whilst I've heard what he has to say in terms of objections, which I think are the same broadly that everybody else has heard and been circulated, I've kept an open view and expressed no opinion whatsoever either way on the application, because I want to keep an open view as of today, so I can make my mind up during the meeting. Okay, so moving on to substantive business for today. So if we go to item 4 on the agenda, which is the full planning permission for the construction of Earthbank Slurry Lagoon at Inglehurst Farm, Coldcoats Farm, Fellis Cliff, Harrogate, on behalf of Mr Stephen Bradley. So if I could ask the case officer to give his report, please.
Thank you, Chair. Can we have the next slide, please? Afternoon, members. The application today seeks the erection of an Earthbank Slurry Lagoon to serve an established agricultural enterprise, approximately 92 acres. This slide just shows the context of the site. So it's just the site, Inglehurst Farm, is just below where that Coldcoats label is. So the access is off Coldcoats Road, which is accessed off the A59 to the south. Neighbouring property, Coldcoats, you can see with the label to the north. Neighbouring agricultural unit, you can just see at the top of the screen to the north east. And Springfield Farm Business Park to the south, with RAF Menwith Road to the west. Next slide, please. This is the location plan, shows existing farmyard and agricultural buildings. The existing above ground slurry store is marked with the tank labelled circular outline on the plan. The site of the proposed lagoon and the proposed access is shown. So the proposed lagoon is the large square, and the access clearly shown all the way down to Cold Coats Road, which is the existing access onto the farm. The area, the line at the very top of the map, is the area that is proposed to provide tree planting to achieve on-site biodiversity net gain. There is a public right-of-way that also runs through the centre of the site, so the second field boundary in from the right of the map, so from the bottom of that field boundary all the way up through the centre of the farmyard, that is public right-of-way. Can I have the next slide, please? So this is just an overview, just to show that public right-of-way, again a little bit more detail. You can see that running through the farmyard and the other public right-of-ways that surround the site. Could I have the next slide, please? A photograph of the site. This is looking northwards towards Cold Coats, and the site proposed to provide the on-site V&G. Next slide, please. This is the photo of the site looking northeast. Next slide, please. This is the view again looking southeast. Next slide, please. That's looking south towards the business park. Next slide. This is looking west towards the existing buildings on the site, showing the access into the field where the lagoon will be sited. Next slide, please. And then that's looking south, so the entrance to the field is to the left of this image. That's looking south toward the access into the site. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. This just site plan shows the proposal in a little bit more detail. So you've got the site of the proposal. The circular outline is the existing above tank, the above ground slurry store at the moment. The rectangle next to it is the existing reception pit, which is to remain the same. And you can see the dotted, the dashed red line that runs from that reception pit down into the lagoon, which is also proposed as part of the proposal. Plan also, that's the underground slurry channel from the existing pit into the lagoon. Next slide, please. This is a section and elevation showing the north and south sides of the lagoon. These sides will measure 36 metres in length. This shows the 4 metre depth of the lagoon in relation to the existing ground level, which can be seen the grey dotted lines either side of this section. There will be a 2 metre high slope to the edges of the lagoon, which will be seeded with grass. The lagoon will also be topped with a 1.3 metre high wire fence, which can be seen on the elevation drawing at the bottom. The walls are to be constructed of impermeable compacted soil walls, and the lagoon will be covered by a single ply PVC membrane with a 750mm freeboard above. Could I have the next slide, please? Just that one. Thank you. This is a section again, elevation from the east and west sides of the proposed lagoon. That shows the existing ground slope, with the farmyard being at high ground level to the left-hand side of the image. These sides will measure 50 metres in length. And then final slide, please. This one. This is a floor plan of the proposal. The lagoon will cover a surface of 1,800 square metres and have a volume capacity of 4,559 cubic metres. Please, can I also draw members' attention to 2 errors which are on the officer report. At paragraph 10.13 of the report, the length of the eastern and western sides is given as 26 metres. This should be 36 metres, as is on the drawings. And also at paragraph 10.44, the second bullet point down, the size of the holding is stated to be 96 acres, where it should read as 92 acres. So you should make members aware of those 2 errors. The application is recommended for approval, subject to conditions. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Right. Does anyone have any questions for the officer?
No, Chairman.
No? No. Can I just ask a couple of questions then?
Yeah.
You're saying that it's going to be covered over, is that correct?
Yeah, with a single ply PVC membrane.
Okay, and from an environmental health perspective, will that abate basically nuisance smells?
With what the proposal is, should reduce orders and the operation. I mean, the big issue with orders tends to be when stirring and moving slurries. So the increased holding should mean that there's less. At the moment, they're having to draw out in unfavourable conditions as well to move material out, whereas with this increased volume, they shouldn't have to move as many pumping actions and movements, so that principal route of causing orders should be removed.
Okay.
I mean, given the nature of it's a farm, it's a working farm, there will be some orders. It should cut down excessive orders.
Have we seen any other slurry tanks of this size being constructed in the county, or are there any you're aware of? And do they create problems in terms of smell?
Not that I'm aware of.
Sorry, not that you're aware of. There's nothing of this size.
They've not had any complaints
Not had any.
that I'm aware of.
Okay. And we satisfied that this will not cause any kind of groundwater pollution or anything of that?
That's really something for the Environment Agency.
They've not raised any objections to the design of it. The previous application that was withdrawn, there were concerns with the design. It's now been amended, the banking and the sloping is considered to be acceptable. It's also going to be constructed to the relevant British standards. We'll have to go through a separate process with the Environment Agency where the applicant will need to notify the Environment Agency with some further details. They'll also have to comply with a number of other environmental legislation that's separate to planning. I have put that in as an informative at the end of the report as well. Sorry,
rules is one of the drivers.
Yeah. One of the EA rules is the drivers for them putting in this application is to comply with those rules.
Because it's a requirement that they have to put this on site.
Yeah, 6 months storage capacity.
Right. We're satisfied that this is the most suitable location on site for this.
It needs to be gravity fed. Again, at the moment, and we saw this on site at the visit this morning, they were driving it out through an engine pump, which, as Ed says, it agitates and can cause more odours, whereas this will be an underground slurry channel that will be gravity fed down, so it needs to be in that location to be able to feed it down from the site and for it to end up in the lagoon.
And you'll have to forgive me because I wasn't on the site meeting this morning, but in terms of proximity from the adjacent businesses, how close is the existing tank? How close will the slurry lagoon be from the existing premises, the existing businesses next door?
Proposed slurry lagoon, it depends where you measure it from, between 50 and 60 metres from the boundary. The existing tank's slightly closer, I'd say it's probably 10 metres probably closer than the proposed.
Okay. And there's no changes to the existing access, they would be using the access that's already there?
It's conditioned also in the report that they, in order to access to and from the lagoon, they will be conditioned that they need to use that specific access, which is away from the neighbouring property, because there is a route round the farmyard closer to Coalcoats, but it's been conditioned to use the southern access.
So there's no suggestion that that other access has been used or will be used? It's conditioned that they cannot use
They
that?
need to use the other access.
Right, okay. Anyone got any further questions for the officers?
Yeah, just on the proposed gravity feed. As we saw on site this morning, it's gone into a pit and then there's a tractor running, spewing fumes out, agitating it and blowing it into the existing tank. So the new proposal is to channel it down. And does that go direct into the tank?
Into the lagoon? Yeah.
So it is direct in?
Yeah, direct gravity
So
feed.
it actually will be cutting down stench, noise from it.
You won't have to have a static engine there.
Yeah. And as far as the horrendous smells that come from slurry, is that more from when they're spreading it or when it's been stored?
It can be from when it's stored. Obviously, there are odours when it's spread. Now, that, and again, it depends what method's used to spread it, whether it's surface spread or it's injected or broadcast spread. And again, that should be dealt with under the code of practice about incorporating it into the soil. And that's on the spreading. As far as storage, yes, like any farm operation, there's potential for orders, it's management, but it's particularly, you do get orders when you disturb a slurry, because it will sort of naturally crust over a bit. But any movement when you pump it, it's going to get warm, heated up when it goes through a pump. You're going to obviously have noise and fumes from the pump. And as soon as, with the small capacity, you've got to stir it to get it out. There's more of those operations where, because it hasn't got the holding capacity, they've got to handle it more frequently.
Yeah.
And at the moment, it also means is there's movements in less than ideal conditions.
Yeah, I think we can see that, can't we, from the slides. Yeah.
But again, having that part of the reason for the year's push for the 6 months capacity is you get to the point where at the moment it's full, it's got to go out, and it goes on the land when it's not ideal, there's going to be more runoff. For 6 months capacity, you can get to 3 or 4 months and think, well, it's raining this week, we won't go.
So, in your expert opinion, would you say that there'll be less smell coming from the new proposal that's been put forward?
Yeah, from the documents I've read, and speaking to Mary, who's the actual officer dealing with it, yes, there'll be less orders.
Yeah.
I won't say there won't be any orders because of the nature of the business.
So far, yeah. Thank you.
Remind me, did you say the size of the holding?
92 acres.
92 acres. Right. It's virtually a small holding to what we've been used to. Is there a condition that it's slurry only produced from this holding that goes in it?
It's not been conditioned.
It's not been conditioned. Well, perhaps it ought to be. Be a good idea if it was conditioned.
Sorry, what conditions that?
Condition in place that the slurry that goes into the lagoon can only be from this holding.
Not
rather than
imported.
Not being
imported.
imported from another holding. That's what Councillor Stan was saying.
This cover as well, you say it won't eliminate orders completely, but so it's not a seal cover, it doesn't seal.
No, I mean, a lot of the covering is to cut down ammonia production, principally.
Explain.
It's that interface with the air releases ammonia, and that's one of the Environment Agency's big drivers with the new slurry storage and handling is to cut down ammonia production, because it's a greenhouse gas amongst other things. So yes, this cover should stop that interface between the slurry and the air, so you won't be getting that ammonia production. It will cut down. Again, that's associated with a lot of the orders, but you know, it's not a sealed tank, so there still will potentially be some orders, but again, because it's getting disturbed less, the natural crusting and the lack of vegetation, the amount of orders being produced per se should be less.
So the only time that the lagoon, the slurry will be agitated is when it goes into the tanker.
Yes.
That's the only time.
Yeah.
So it's a gravity fed system.
So, and again, so when it's being fed, it's gravity fed, so it'll be almost like a slow trickle in rather than pumped in as a pulse through, which is soon, you know, that at the moment with the small tank, that pulse will stir everything up as well.
So when this gravity fed thing gets blocked, right, you'll have to blow it through.
Well, hopefully it won't get
Modern
blocked.
gravity don't always work.
No, but again, that's good housekeeping helps with that.
Good answer.
Can I ask a couple more questions? So, forgive me, I'm not a farmer. I'm just trying to look at some of the numbers here. We're talking about 517% increase in capacity because we have to now provide up to 6 months slurry storage on site. But still, 517% increase in capacity seems massive to me, because the existing slurry tank, why won't that hold 6 months? How often was that being emptied? Because that, on that basis, that would have had to been emptied, what, every 5 or 6 weeks? Or has there been some kind of massive intensification of farming activities on this particular site recently? Is there more cattle on there than there was previously? I'm just trying to get my head around why 517% increase in volume. I know, as you say, it's 6 months capacity, but that seems massive to me.
I've seen bigger lagoons.
And there is within the justification statement from the applicant's agent, calculations were made using AHDB slurry wizard to ensure that the proposed new lagoon was an appropriate size to contain a minimum of 6 months storage based on current stock numbers and allowing expansion to a herd of 150 milk cows. So it is taking into account potential expansion of the existing.
Right. And once again, I'm no farmer, but how many expansion to 115 or 150?
We've got 166 at the moment, so it's an expansion of 150.
So they've got 166 plus 150.
That's what they're planning to from the statement.
Okay, so 316. Can 92 acres accommodate that many cows? I don't know. I'm just trying to get my head around why this thing is so massive.
That's what's been proposed and the calculations have been brought forward.
Okay. Also, I mean, there's a couple of things to say. Like the size that I can't quite get my head around it. Maybe because I'm not a farmer, that's possibly the reason why. But just in terms of the recommendation as well, just so I'm clear, in terms of planning law and material considerations, there needs to be basically a balance off here as far as I can see, which is, does the need to comply with legislation in terms of capacity, does that take precedence over potential nuisance that this causes and problems to neighbouring owners and businesses? Which one takes precedence here?
We have to look at obviously the planning legislation and come to a balanced judgment, but as Ed says, based on the existing situation and the proposed one, there should be an improvement over the situation on the site. That's what we're looking at in terms of the impacts on the neighbouring properties.
Okay. Should be, is this a bit of guesswork? Should be an improvement.
Excuse me. It's based on the report and what's going on at the moment.
So based on our reports.
And the submitted documents, and it should reduce the likely causes or most likely causes of odour complaints.
Sorry, when you're saying submitted documents, the submitted documents have been put in by the applicant, so we're taking it that these documents are accurate. And we've not conducted our own research or commissioned our own reports, we're just taking it as given.
We've consulted with the Environment Agency,
Yeah.
Obviously they look more at the compliance with the legislation, etc., which is designed to meet obviously as well.
So you're telling me the Environment Agency is satisfied that the reports are accurate in what they say?
They've been consulted twice as well. They've been consulted a second time and asked to take into account the objections and the odour assessment that's been compiled by the neighbouring property. And they've come back to me and said our position hasn't changed. We don't have any objection subject to it complying with the other environmental legislation, which they'll have to notify the authority of the details.
Okay.
Go through that next process.
Thank you. Anyone else got any more questions for the officers? Okay, right, thank you. So if we move on. So we have 3 speakers are going to speak to us today. Mark Dyson, who's going to speak to us, who has 3 minutes. And Carl, is it Gil Hespy?
Yeah.
Who is a surveyor who has 2 minutes. So objectors have 5 minutes, everyone else has 5 minutes, they're going to split the time between themselves. We are quite strict on timing, so we will kind of, Vicky will give you a 30-second warning when the time's coming to an end. And then Andrew Hardcastle is going to speak to us on behalf of the applicant. So if I could ask Mr. Dyson to come forward and speak to us first, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Dyson, and I represent my family and the team who live and work at Colcoats, to whom I have a duty of care. We are not simply stakeholders in this proposal, we are residents, business owners and community members whose future will be directly shaped by this decision. I have great concerns about the location of the proposed lagoon and the consequences it may bring. I strongly object to the application. The lagoon will hold 5 million litres of farm waste, the equivalent of an Olympic-sized swimming pool, just 60 metres from my home and long-established hospitality business. These figures don't include the current tank. The application claims there will be less odour. This claim is unproven and there is no evidence to support this. I did not understand how a lagoon 6 times the size of a current tank with a cover, which at best reduces emissions by 60%, could achieve less odour. I needed clarification. I commissioned an independent air quality assessment from Vale Consultancy. The company uses the same methodology as the Environment Agency, and the report presented the following findings. The proposed cover offers limited mitigation. It slows odour dispersion but does not prevent it. The lagoon will generate daily and persistent odour emissions. When the slurry is agitated, the cover has to be removed and there will be no protection. The location affords no possibility of odour dispersal for nearby properties. The impact on my home and business will be significant and detrimental. This report clearly shows that all the risks have been laid at my door. In its guidance on the siting of slurry lagoons, DEFRA states, ammonia sources should be positioned as far as possible from sensitive receptors like people. The application states that alternative sites are not viable as they would necessitate crossing a watercourse or ditch. However, I can evidence the recently consented lagoon at Watergate Farm, Bishop Thornton, designed by the same agent. This proposal allows for a 150-metre transfer pipe from the farm downhill to the lagoon site.
30 seconds, please.
This transfer pipe dissects a watercourse. The land registry shows their only objection to other locations at Inglehurst Farm are movable field drains. I ask for the same degree of consideration and separation and urge the committee to give this objection full and fair consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Gilhesby, you have 2 minutes, I think, but when you start speaking.
Thank you, Chair. In support of Mark's comments, I'd like to make the following points. The Environment Agency actually objects to this application unless it can be demonstrated to satisfy the farming rules for water. In the absence of demonstrable compliance, the EA's representation ought to be read as an objection. Our own assessment, ignoring the muck store on the site, concludes that 199 acres are required to meet these rules. The land registry title at Inglehurst Farm extends to 62 acres. The nitrogen loading is therefore more than double good agricultural practice. The Environment Agency's position has not been explored by officers nor adequately addressed by the applicant and should be treated as an objection. In our opinion, the EHO has taken at face value the applicant's comments regarding odour reduction. The recommendation put to you does not require the decommissioning of the existing slurry store. The effect is to consent an additional 5 million litres of slurry. The suggestion that this will reduce odour would be laughable if the consequences weren't so serious. Policies HP4 and EC2 require development proposals to ensure that they will not result in significant adverse impacts on the amenity of neighbours and will consider the cumulative impact of the stores. No one has done that, and the EHO ignore the impact on Mark's business, all of which is contrary to adopted policy. The only air quality assessment commissioned demonstrates significant harm will be caused due to the proximity of the lagoon.
30 seconds.
And despite this, no weight has been given to the significant technical evidence. Finally, permitted development rights allow the construction of slurry lagoons 400 metres or more from dwellings. Within this distance, a more rigorous assessment is required, hence the referral today. I believe that this application has been viewed as an agricultural one in the countryside, and a light touch has been adopted in terms of its interrogation. It's the duty of the committee to ensure that this application is properly scrutinised. I'd be happy to answer any further questions which you might have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So you have 5 minutes.
Yep. Good afternoon. I'm Andrew Hardcastle, land agent for the applicant E. Bradley and Sons of Inglehurst Farm. I've known the Bradley family for over 30 years and acted for them for over 20 years. They operate a modest-sized dairy farm from Inglehurst Farm, where the family have farmed since 1959. The family dairy farm has grown steadily over the generations. It totals 92 acres, but with additional 150 acres rented in the locality. An above-ground slurry store was erected in the 1980s in connection with increased cow numbers and with the aim of collecting the dairy slurry to be used as fertiliser on the farmland. The tower has served the business well, but is now coming to the end of its useful life and in need of replacement in the coming years. It currently provides just 1 month's worth of storage. The Bradley family have welcomed the next generation onto the farm, with Stephen and Michelle's daughter, Emily, aged 30, taking the reins on the dairy enterprise. The family is looking to secure the future of their farm, ensure continued compliance with current and future regulations. With this in mind, the Bradley family engaged with the local catchment sensitive farming officer, have undertaken a DEFRA-funded farm infrastructure audit to assess the current and future needs of the farm business. This audit, undertaken in March 2022 by DEFRA's catchment sensitive farming team, identified that the farm did not have sufficient slurry or manure storage for the size of the dairy herd. The report concluded 6 recommendations, the principal one of which was to increase the farm's slurry storage to a minimum of 6 months total. Heeding this advice, the Bradley family have engaged with the AONB and the Environment Agency before engaging ourselves to advise on the siting, design and layout of the new slurry store and to assist with the planning matters. The site lies within the Nidderdale AONB, which is a protected landscape. The replacement of the existing slurry tower with a larger above-ground tower was considered unsuitable on landscape grounds, coupled with the significantly higher build cost. Furthermore, the applicant wished to move the store further away from neighbouring properties, which would result in a new, larger store in open countryside with its resultant impacts. The proposed store is planned as an earthbank lagoon to be sunk into the ground, with limited above-ground construction. Such a store will have limited visual impact on the surrounding landscapes, being just a 2 metre high grass bank visible from surrounding properties. The store is designed to take purely the slurry from this holding and nowhere else. The proposed store is located further away from neighbouring properties. Movement of the store further away was considered unsuitable due to the location of existing land drains and springs and the requirement to limit the impact on the wider landscape by undertaking new development in open countryside. It's considered the proposed location achieves a balance between improving neighbouring properties amenity while retaining the cluster development which is customary to the local area. The store has been designed in full compliance with the SAFO regulations and meets with approval of the Environment Agency in its design, siting and layout. The DEFRA approved slurry wizard is being used to calculate the storage volume requirements for the farm, together with potential future expansion to safeguard the future of the business. These calculations have received approval from the Environment Agency. The proposed store will be accessed from the existing farmyard with no significant increase in vehicle movements. Slurry will be stored through winter and spread on farmland occupied by the farming business and used as fertiliser through spring and summer. In summary, the applicants are seeking to both safeguard the future of their existing dairy business, ensure compliant with current and future regulations and industry best practice, reduce the need for artificial fertilisers, minimise the impact on the AONB and the wider landscape. They've taken account of concerns of neighbours and sought to move the proposed store further away from their property than the existing store, while aiming to retain the cluster of development which is customary in the area. I hope the committee will appreciate the proactive approach which has been taken by the applicant and appreciate consideration being given to this matter in advance of submission. Thank you.
guess we'll move on to the debate. Would anyone like to start us off? Councillor Heseltine.
It's like many agricultural holdings. As farming gets less profitable, mergers go on. Landowners rent the land out to other farmers, and that seems to be the case in this instance. Where did we hear that 150 acres are rented as well as the 92 acres, 250 some acres. So the acreage, as long as it's reasonably secure, will certainly be viable for up to 250 cattle, more in fact. There's a farm not a dissimilar size actually to the west of Skipton that's going from 500 to allegedly 2,000 head. So we're into different figures to what we've been used to. Does not the application satisfy the criteria of all those professional bodies that's been asked? And as long as that's the case, then I'll test the water and move approval. Unless you've something to debate.
Anyone else got anything? Councillor Ireton.
Yeah. First of all, can I have it clear in my mind that the storage now, lagoon or whatever you call that, where they're storing the slurry, that's to be dismantled and gone. It's not an addition in this.
It's not been conditioned that it should be removed after construction. We can put a condition in if that's what members would like to see, but it's been taken. That has been what's been put forward in the application. That
would appear to be one of the concerns that we've just heard from one of the objectors, that this is added, not replaced. And with the size that's put before us, I would think that that is not required, or it shouldn't be required. I fully appreciate the concerns of the nearest objector that's running that business, a very well maintained guest house and function area. I actually drove down there this morning. I missed the turn and walked through the farmyard, and it is, I fully understand the concerns that this may cause their business, but we've also got the concern of the farmer that's producing this slurry waste, that if that overflows and gets into the water streams, he's in serious trouble with the environment. So he has got to protect himself from that. The banking of it, from a visual point of view, I would have thought will be improved. The fence, for security reasons, to stop anyone dropping into that, is required and absolutely essential. So taking on board the concerns of the objector and the need of the farm to provide sufficient capacity, I feel that I'm left with no alternative but to second the proposal. Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Norwood.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I echo what you have said, Councillor Ireton, that we seem to be to a rock and a hard place in a way. The farm needs 6 months storage, doesn't it? That's a fairly new regulation, so farms have to invest in larger storage. What I haven't heard is, are there any better suggestions? environmental health or the EA suggested anything else, or improvements to what is on the
We
table?
wouldn't. I don't think that's part of their job, is it?
No, which is
It's
to
not.
comment on the
No.
proposal.
Mhm.
I understand the applicant's agent has liaised with the Environment Agency in developing the design, but as Chairman says, it is their role is to comment on the proposal that's in front of them.
Well, given what's been said about the current storage needing that engine or motor to transfer, should we have a condition that says that is going to be dismantled and not going to be used? It would seem pointless if we've got something at least 6 times as big to have that as well. So I would accept that as it, or I suggest that.
I was a little bit unclear as to how this apparatus works. So he said it's gravity fed. It's not in some way being fed from the current slurry tank by gravity into the lagoon as well. That's not part of the whole process,
No.
just so I'm clear.
It's a standalone system.
Right, okay. So one's not codependent on the other, that's what I'm trying to work out.
We need to assure on that, Chairman.
Well, is it? Or,
Yeah, it's separate, completely separate.
It's-
It's shown on the plan.
it's completely-
The channel is separate.
So we're clear that the existing slurry tank does not feed into the slurry lagoon whatsoever, and the calculations of this increased capacity is 517%. Well, I'm a bit confused, because if the slurry tank is for 1 month storage and we need 6 months storage, then 517% increase still leaves you short of 6 months storage unless you're dependent on the slurry tank. Because if you had the slurry tank and an increase of 517%, that gives you 617%, which gets you over the 6 months. So if we remove the slurry tank, have we got 6 months storage? I'm getting a nod from over in the corner. I'm not supposed to be asking questions, I'm just thinking out loud. The other thing that I'm still a bit confused about is we've got a 92-acre farm, but we've got 150 acres rented elsewhere in the locality. It almost seems to me like we're setting something up here to import slurry from off-site. So what we're doing is creating a super slurry processing lagoon for land elsewhere in the locality. Is that right? That's not what's happening. Okay.
I think my understanding to you, Chairman, is that they're renting 150 acres of land to
Right.
go with their holding.
Yeah.
So that will be farmed by this farm. I don't think they'll be imported. In fact,
I'm trying to work out his stuff.
Yes,
Because
we're going to condition, I believe, that there's no slurry imported, aren't we? Or that has been suggested. Whether that is a condition we can put on, we'll wait for legal advice.
So I think there are 2 conditions that you'd like to look at, aren't there?
Yeah.
One, that slurry can't be imported, and secondly, that the existing tank is dismantled.
Yeah.
And all I can say is they've got to be, meet the usual condition tests necessary, relevant to the development, enforceable, precise, reasonable in all other respects. So.
Would you say
I
that?
I can't see
do you have any objections to those?
No, I think we just have to make sure that if we're conditioning the removal of what's already there needs to be some sort of time period where they can get the new lagoon constructed up and running. Following that, there just needs to be a bit of a leeway between the two, I think.
So are you happy to delegate the wording of the condition to the planning officer?
do you want to come in at this point, Councillor?
Just to clarify, Chairman, that when I suggested that we have a condition that we don't import slurry, that was imported from other farm holdings. There are instances across the country where these sort of mega processing centres are set up for other farms as well, and that can cause chaos. But 150 acres, whether it's for grazing or producing winter forage, and that's part of the business itself. Just want to find that no other farming business can import.
Okay, so potentially
I think it's the same.
Is that the
isn't
same?
it?
Is that the same? But we're just
the wording of it.
just wording.
Delegated to officers, I think they understand where members are coming from.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm thinking basically you just want it nailed down that they can only store their own slurry.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I'm still going through things in my head. I'm still undecided at this point. And one of the things that concerns me is that we have conflicting data from the applicant and from the objective surveyor, who both tell us that they've used the Environment Agency's formulas for working out how much of a stink this thing's going to generate. We're told by both of them that they've used this data and they've both come to different conclusions. I'm sorry, I can't really take questions or comments. And why have we decided to proceed on the basis of that data from the applicant as opposed to data from the objective surveyor who tells us they've used exactly the same formula for working out these things?
We did consult the Environment Agency again after
They have
the data
reviewed.
from the objective.
So the Environment Agency have reviewed both
We
sets of
consulted
data.
them originally as we normally do when the application came in. Then a few weeks ago before the committee, we reconsulted them again and drew their attention to the objections that had been received, the odour assessment that the neighbourhood commissioned, and I asked them to review that. They came back to me and said our position has not changed. We still have no objections, subject to compliance with the relevant environmental legislation.
So in terms of, we have a proposer and a seconder at the moment with some conditions. If we were going to vote on that, can we get some wording for these conditions? Because if we're going to vote, we need to know what the conditions are specifically.
Your sentence
We
fitted completely.
So we either do it prior to
Slurry
the first operation,
I would have thought, I mean, it's been said anyway that the existing lagoon is near the end of its useful life anyway, but I would have thought that what the Commission would need to do would say that would need to cease use once the new one, within a period, which would have to be decided after the new one is operational, otherwise obviously then you don't have anywhere to store the slurry in the meantime.
Chairman, perhaps through you, could we ask the agent if it is the intention that that original slurry tank is going to be removed?
And it's not being used for the capacity,
Yeah.
not part of the plant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yes, that original tank is at the end of its useful life, and it was intended that in the coming years that will be taken down. Calculations for 6 months are based purely on the lagoon, so taking the original tank down doesn't cause us concern. We need the overlap to be able to empty the current one before we start filling the new one.
Can I ask as well, how long would the overlap have to be? Is it 3 months, 6 months?
It depends on the time of year. I think a 6-month period would be reasonable.
Committee members, do we think 6 months?
Yeah, they certainly need time to get the new lagoon up and operational and the tank emptied, don't they? So I would have thought 6 months after the lagoon is operational, that should give them ample time to empty that tank and get it dismantled.
Can you give some draft?
That gives further protection to the objectors, I hope, because I do fully understand where they're coming from. Yeah.
Just draft wording for Vicky's purposes for the minutes. Obviously, it doesn't have to be perfect.
So, within 6 months of the first operation of the slurry lagoon hereby permitted, the existing slurry storage at the site shall be wholly removed.
Yeah.
That'd be...
I mean, better to say the existing slurry store sewn on a plan.
Yeah.
You know, the
So
name
reference
plan,
to the plan.
because it's shown on there. It says
Yes.
tank. It's shown on there just so it's beyond any doubt
Yeah.
that we know what we're talking
Yes.
about. Yeah.
We'll refer it to
Shall be emptied and removed.
emptied and removed.
Yeah.
So we'll refer to the site plan then, because that's the. I'll refer to that drawing number.
Yeah, it's labelled on there as existing above
Yeah.
ground slurry store, so it's absolutely clear.
Okay.
So that's the dismantling, and then there's the
Emptying this pipeline.
And then there's the other
there's
one
the other one,
about
which is
importing from other holdings. That was the second one, wasn't it?
The only situation is if in the future the applicant is to purchase or rent additional land for their holding on another site, how that condition would work. So we're saying
It'd be part of the same part.
so we're wording it that part of the holding, it's only got
Right.
to be slurry and okay. So that would cover if they were to expand or rent
Part
or
of the
purchase.
farming operation.
Farming operation.
Although, does that then give them scope to acquire another 500 acres and start pumping that in as well?
Yes,
It has
but
a
that's not. I
capacity,
mean,
doesn't
the
it?
purchase of land and the expansion of the farming operation isn't it's not something we can control with planning. They're free to obviously expand it.
Kate just raised the point, it'd still be a question of capacity, physical capacity, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's only so big, and at the end of the day, wherever the slurry is coming from, it's limiting, isn't it, by the
Yeah.
size it is.
Absolutely.
But then there's going down a rabbit hole. I better not go down that one. Okay, so that's the first condition. And then the second condition. Do we have a second condition?
I thought we dealt with both of them, Chairman.
We've dealt with the wording of the second condition.
It's just the wording we're looking at. So we've dealt with the wording for the dismantling,
Yeah.
you know, by reference to a plan, and then we just need to look at
Wording
some
for-
wording that they can't import slurry from. And Councillor Sultan had some wording there about farm holding, or what. You know, we wanted to make sure that it was not from another business
Yeah.
and connected with this farm.
So something along the lines of slurry deposited in the lagoon hereby permitted should be strictly from the existing farming operation at Inglehurst Farm. That be.
I'm not sure that's what we're talking about. The existing operation at Inglehurst Farm, does that then not limit it to the things that's going on in those 92 acres?
No, because I suppose if
Well, the existing operation at Inglehurst Farm, Inglehurst Farm is a location, isn't it?
It's the slurry that's generated from that farm.
Yeah, because
So just
they're already storing the slurry from when the cattle are housed.
Yeah.
They're not storing slurry from when the cattle are out in the field, because they're
No,
just
of course.
depositing it on the field.
Yeah.
Is that how it works?
You know,
Is that what they're doing?
Sorry.
it would be if there was took over another farm, that would be, but then they would be being housed at another farm.
Right, okay. So,
They're not
what's
likely
it-
to transport.
You know, you'd have to have waste transfer notes and all sorts for that,
Yeah.
and EA approval and.
So for the benefit of the non-farming people amongst us, basically me, the cattle that are on the other 150 acres are doing what they're doing on those 150 acres, and it's not coming onto this site because they're doing it out in the fields.
Well, it's coming out, it's actually, in theory, it's coming in with the cows, isn't it? So it is, technically it is going out that way.
So what I'm trying to say is there's nothing housing any cattle anywhere else that's going to result in that being shoveled into the back of a whatever and brought on the back of a tanker and discharged into this slurry pit. That's what I'm trying to avoid. It would be a case of cows that may be eating the grass elsewhere,
Yeah.
come on site into a cow shed, do the business in the cow shed, and it's cleaned from that cow shed on site into that slurry lagoon, and from no other cow sheds anywhere else, even though the cows might be elsewhere and come on site habitually. Right.
Yeah. Something along the lines of.
We are recording, aren't we?
I hope so.
I can see headlines in local papers.
So, slurry deposited in the lagoon hereby permitted should be strictly from the existing farming operation. Is that big? Would that cover?
Yeah. Cattle housed, that.
The word exists from the farm operation.
Cattle house on that farm,
Cattle house on site.
Lingfield Farm order.
Cattle housed on site.
Yeah.
So slurry deposited in the lagoon hereby permitted shall be strictly from the cattle housed on site.
That covers it, doesn't it?
Yeah. So if you start expanding like a pig, you'll soon be over capacity.
Can I ask one other question, just while we're on this?
To the chair.
If the farm diversified and it, Andrew's looking at me in the corner, he's going to shake his head. I'm going to ask Councillor Heseltine this, because he just mentioned pigs. Would this, as it stands, would they be able to basically put pig waste in here as well?
Should imagine
There's
so.
no pigs on site at the moment, and I hope they don't put any on there because I don't know too far away.
Waste.
So it doesn't differentiate between the two. It's just.
Be careful what's going to be in press.
All right. Okay. So have we got the wording for that then?
Cattle housed on site, so it's specifically referring to cattle.
Have
And a large
you
pig.
noted this?
Would you kindly?
Well,
Chairman.
That should be animals then.
Send me the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
A large figure and it would
So you've
need
got
content.
put motion forward
Yeah.
with those conditions.
Okay. So, Councillor Hamilton, are you going to propose that the application is approved, subject to the conditions and these two additional conditions?
I thought I'd leave that honour to you, Chairman.
Well, I'm not going to propose it. Is anyone
Well,
wanting
I
to
will
propose
then.
it? Okay.
I'll second that, Chairman.
Okay.
If that helps.
All in favour? Abstentions? Against? Carried.
You're against.
I'm against, yeah.
Do you want to recount?
No, I think the motion is carried.
So that's 3, 4 and 1 against, isn't
Yeah.
it? Thank you.
Okay, right, so moving on to item 5, any other items of business? No other items? Okay, so the date of the next meeting is scheduled to take place on Tuesday the 7th of October at 1 p.m. Venue to be decided. Thank you for everyone for attending today and for the
Chair.
officers for the
Thank you,
support.
Chairman.
Thank you.